Hey everyone, welcome to Bushy's Kitchen. It's a rainy day in New York City, so I figured let's warm our stomachs up with some Bengali style beef stew. This recipe is going to cook for 4 servings, so it's great for a family meal or meal prep it, and it's also freezer friendly. Before we begin, I'm going to give you a full breakdown of all the ingredients that you're going to need. If you don't have some of these ingredients, don't worry about it. Leave a comment below and I'll give you a substitution. What you'll need for this recipe is beef chuck, celery, carrots, sweet potatoes. Red and white onions is completely optional. You can use whatever you have. Thyme, a cinnamon stick, black cardamom, cloves. This spice blend I will be putting in the description below. Black and yellow mustard seeds, a little flour, red wine, sweet peppers is what I'm going to be adding for this recipe, but this is completely optional. Garlic cloves, Greek yogurt, and vegetable broth, and a little bit of ghee. First, to create a marinade, I'm going to use Greek yogurt and a little bit of that spice blend. Mix that all together, and if you want to get your hands dirty, use your hands like me because it's so much easier to coat all that beef. And lastly, after you wash your hands, of course, sprinkle in some thyme, wrap it in plastic, and this is going to go in the fridge for at least an hour, or if you want, overnight as well. Next, I'm going to roughly chop my vegetables. That includes the carrots, the celery, sweet potatoes, and onions. I like to cut them in bigger pieces because we're going to cook them for a long amount of time, so you want to make sure they're not too small and just melt into the stew, which is why I'm quartering the onions right now. That way it makes sure that there's some type of texture even though it's going to cook for a while. On medium heat, add olive oil in a large pot. Take the marinated beef and throw it in the pot. I'm going to be adding a little flour because as the beef sears, it's going to leave a nice thickened sauce on the bottom where we're going to cook the aromatics next. Once the beef is seared, this should take about 5 minutes. Put it all in a separate bowl, making sure that you still keep some of that sauce on the bottom of the pot. This will be used to cook the vegetables next. Now you can add your onions and your celery and stir that up in that sauce from the bottom of the pan. Next, add your black and yellow mustard seeds and stir that in as well. Once the onion has softened, you can add the garlic. This will take about 3 minutes. Once you've stirred that in, you can add your whole spices. If you're not comfortable with taking the spices out of the stew at the end, you can wrap them in a cheesecloth. This will help you to just pull them out and you won't have to worry about biting into it later. I've also just thrown in that red wine. Now add the vegetable broth, stir that in, and we're going to wait for that to come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, mix in your tomato paste. After it's mixed, add in your carrots. Cook that for about 2 minutes, and now you can add that seared brown beef. Mix the beef with the rest of the stew and make sure it comes to a boil. Once it does, you can add the rest of your spices. Mix everything together and make sure you cook the spices for about 2 minutes. Once it comes back into a boil, add 2 cups of water and some fresh thyme, and you can cover that for about an hour. So after an hour, you can add your sweet potatoes and mix it into the stew. You can put the top back on because this will take another 45 minutes before we add the sweet peppers. On a cutting board, cut your sweet peppers into thin slices, and we're going to add those the last 10 minutes of cooking our stew. Go ahead and mix that in, and we're going to be adding a tablespoon of ghee as well. Ghee is clarified butter, so this is just going to help all the flavors of the stew come together, and you should have this cooking in the pot for about 10 more minutes until the sauce is thickened, and it should look something like this. This whole process should take about 2 hours, and the potatoes should be fully cooked and the beef should be falling apart really easily before you serve it. Just make sure you take out the thyme leaves and the whole spices just so you don't bite into that. But other than that, we're ready to eat. Alright guys, it's 2 hours later. The stew is ready. I'm starving, so let's try this right now. It's so good. The beef is soft, it just melts in your mouth. The sweetness of the sweet potatoes contrasting with the spiciness of the stew, it's just so good. It just feels like a warm hug. It's really worth it, guys. I really want you to try out this recipe. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.